Let's wait for the delay because I'm sure they are taking this. There we go.
Good evening. Happy Thursday. We're normally saying happy Tuesday, but
Yeah,
today we're
yeah, yeah.
saying happy Thursday. This is a impromptu, so y'all get used to these. Get used to the impromptu type of shows, but we are going to get right on into what we got to get into today. Again, happy Thursday. What is Thursday? You know, we have Taco
The
Tuesday,
Oh no,
Thriving
I don't think
Thursday.
Thursday's
Thriving
nothing.
Thursday. It's Thriving
Mhm.
Thursday. So let's thrive on today. Um, let's go. Let's go. Jay, it's just you and I
All
tonight.
right. Well, yeah, I'm sharing it. I'm gonna give a couple people time to get in here and pop in here. What's up, Stacy? Look,
Hello, Miss
Stacy, this is a
Stacy.
little impromptu. If you can share this for me, Stacy, we're gonna have Mr. Roy Smith on tonight. We're gonna have Mr. Roy Smith on tonight, Stacy. We're gonna get him out here in a few minutes. Um, so if you can share it, we're gonna give people a time a little second because I know they're not used to us being on a Thursday, but we're gonna take our time for a second here and let anybody that can get on get on. So if you get a chance, Stacy, I appreciate that. So hopefully we can get a few people on here before we start because we don't want anybody to miss it because we're gonna give him this allotted time that was
More 5 minutes.
yeah, we ain't got 5 minutes. We got plenty of time. We're gonna let him have all the minutes he can have and say what he wanna say, man. Um so I'll start by saying this. Um I made the video on TikTok of Mr. Roy speaking his mind the other day. And it came on right after we did our show. So we actually missed the city board meeting. So usually I have to go back on YouTube and watch the city board meetings. And I saw the video and I was like, yo, this is poignant. It is on point, but it also was wildly entertaining. Um, and sometimes you have to use comedy or parody or whatever you may need to catch people's attention. And so a lot of this stuff was the ongoing issue in the city or in the town. We had a couple aldermen on last year, and we talked about the moving of the city hall. Very much, Stacey, it was very entertaining. So we had the couple aldermen on last year that talked about the city hall. We kind of gave our own opinions about the city hall. Um, I'll try to give a little backstory. Um, they voted to move the city hall. Some people were opposed to buying an older building instead of trying to build something new. They spent a lot of money on the building, and I think on December 31st, the last day of the year, it was a special meeting called to go ahead and approve that kind of in the dead of night, and it kind of rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Um, so we gonna try to kind of that's kind of the backstory to what's going on. So once I saw the video, I made a TikTok and it kind of took off. I didn't think it was gonna do what it did, but right now it's thousands of views, couple thousand on Facebook. And I kind of reached out to Mr. Roy because I didn't want him to think it was anything offensive, because even though it was funny, it was very important. You understand what I'm saying? So and we asked like, yo, do you want to do the show? Do you want to finish telling your story? And he agreed. And so thankfully we got him to come on tonight. We sent him over the links, we sent him over everything we needed. So I'm not gonna drag it out any further. We're gonna go with what we got. We're gonna bring Mr. Roy up if he's ready. Just give me a thumbs up, Mr. Roy, whenever you're
And
ready.
we got
And
the videos ready as well. So you good to go.
yeah, okay. So we're gonna do this. Run the videos then, and after that, we'll bring Mr. Roy up so everybody can know kind of what happened, and then we'll let him give his story.
All right, videos ready. So just go ahead and upload it.
All right, let's get that up there.
All right.
About as good as to be expected. There you go. You say 5 minutes?
Go ahead. Yes, sir. You're good to go.
All right. Well, first of all, I didn't come down here to start nothing. I came down here to try to end something. And I'm gonna try to be real. I'm gonna keep it real, just like the Apostle Paul. Paul kept it real. Now, Dr. Martin Luther King said in 1963, our lives begin to end the day we become silent on things that matter. My grandfather, Homer Smith, told me that if it looked like a duck, it walked like a duck, and it quacked like a duck, it's a duck. Quack, quack. Now, I don't know whose bright idea it was for us to use $3.25 million of taxpayers' money to purchase a funeral home that's older than me and Don and my mother, who's 90 years old. But I can tell you right now that I can think of a million things that we could have spent $3.25 million for, but I'm only going to name a few. We could have spent part of that money on an overpass or underpass for the railroad track in case of an emergency and a train is coming through town. We've been requesting that for 25 years. Quack, quack. A community education resource center. We could have used the money, or some of that money, to build that. We've been requesting that for over 25 years. Quack, quack. The railroad track right here in the middle of town on Cherokee Street. It's been like that for the last 2 years. We could have used some of the money for that. Quack, quack. Our crumbling water system. We could have used some of the money to improve that. Quack, quack. The property across the street over here that burned. We could have been and got that cleaned up. Amtrak passed through here twice a day. And people seeing that. That's an eyesore to Brookhaven. Quack, quack. We could have used some of that money to expand broadband around the city. We could have used that money to improve the streets on Railroad Avenue, South Railroad Avenue, South Washington Street, South 2nd Street, and Old Brook Road. We even got an industrial park out there, over millions of dollars of industrial park vacancies that we could have used the money to attract some industry into Brookhaven. But yet, we're down here focusing on spending $3.25 million of taxpayer money on a funeral home that's older than Don, myself, and my mother, who's 90 years old. Quack, quack. Now I spoke, excuse me. Now I spoke to Reverend Casson about this, and he told me that it was too late because y'all had already voted. But Reverend Casson lied when the truth would have did. They voted on that the day after or 2 days later. He sold out.
Hold up, wait a minute. If you wanna do what you just did,
I just did it.
you need to see me outside of that room and not call me that.
Well, you
We got that whole thing filled in. So that was the gist of what went on. So without any further ado, we gonna bring Mr. Roy in here. Hey, can you hear
Hey,
us?
yeah, I'm here.
Good
All right,
evening,
how you
Mr.
doing,
Roy.
Mr. Roy?
Oh man, I feel like a runaway slave.
Ooh,
I'm
We
happy.
gonna set you free tonight. We ain't gonna shackle you. We gonna let you do whatever you need to do tonight. So, I know you from coming to board meetings myself, running across you. I think the first time I encountered you, you was talking about the overpass and things like that. In the community center. Then, matter of fact, this has been months ago. Many times I've been to board meeting. You're a regular fixture there. Matter of fact. Um, So if you could, for those of the people that don't know you, that just realized about what happened down there, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Okay, yeah. For those that don't know me, my name is Roy Smith. I'm a native son of Brookhaven. I just want you to know that it's an honor, a pleasure, and a privilege to be here today. And if you add honor, pleasure, and privilege together, that equals a blessing. So to me, it's a blessing for me to be here today, to have an opportunity to make my voice heard. Now, I was born here in Brookhaven back in the 1950s. I grew up in the 1960s and the 1970s when racial discrimination and racial hatred was an everyday thing. Now, as a young boy, I got involved in, I guess, I wouldn't say politics, but I got into, standing firm in what I believed in when it came to racial equality. Because at the age of about 3 or 4 is when I really first experienced racism. We lived in the Carver Heights projects, and my mom worked for, of course, a white family. And when the white lady, came to pick her up, I always noticed standing in the door, watching her get in the car, because I hated to see her leave. You know how it was back in the day when you were young, you didn't want to see your mom leave. But I was standing at the door and watch my mom get in the back of the car because she wasn't allowed to ride in the front seat. So, that in itself had, a profound effect on me. And as I got older, 6, 7, 8 years old, I used to see all of this racial violence against Black people, on TV. How Black students at Jackson State, up in Memphis and different places around the country, doing the sit-ins at different, restaurants and stuff like that, and how they was, being traumatized and brutalized because they was, trying to get equality. That in itself, had a profound effect on me. And I remember when I was about 9 or 10 years old, I actually used to go down in downtown Brookhaven to the Woolworth, where we wasn't allowed to sit at the counter. And I would go in there and, when they weren't looking, I would go down there and sit at the counter just to see how it felt. And I would sit there until one of the waitresses would look over and see me, and then they would chase me out with their dish rag. And my sister used to always say, I'm gonna tell mom on you. I said, I don't care. But, that was me being defiant, even as a child. And I remember, when I got about 14, 15 years old, I was one of the first Black males that had a car in Brookhaven. And we had a swimming pool. In fact, back in the day, we had everything we needed in the community. We didn't have to go outside the community for much of anything. We had a swimming pool, we had a library, we had a theater, we had restaurants. We even had a Black Wall Street, believe it or not. But when I was about 14 or 15, some friends and I picked up at the swimming pool, and we rode around town, and we stopped at the City Mart over here by the Golden China used to be.
Okay. Yeah.
And we stopped there to get a drink, some chips or something. It just so happened, 2, white females pulled up in a convertible Volkswagen. And, I was always, I was never shy. So I had a little black Falcon, had white walls on the front and black walls on the back. And that was symbolic to the Black man chasing a white man. That's what, that's what it stood for me.
Yeah.
So when we got to the City Mart, the white girls was getting out of their vehicle, and I said, you wouldn't want to put that Volkswagen up against that Falcon. I was talking about racing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of course, they didn't reply. So we went on in the store, we got what we wanted. It came back across town to the swimming pool. I dropped everybody off, and I was on my way home, and the police pulled up on me and asked me to pull over. They made me get out of my car, put me in their car, went and picked up the other boy that was in the car with me, and took me down to the police station, which was a little small building right there where the train station is between the two banks. There used to be a little police station there. They took us in there and they interrogated us. In other words, it was almost like a replay of Emmett Till, where what I said was taken out of context, and then they tried to make it a racial issue because the police officer was stating that I had said something to the effect that you wouldn't let me put that Falcon in your Volkswagen, would you? something to that.
Trying
They
to
took
be,
it all out of context.
yeah.
So after I convinced them, finally convinced them that that's not what I said, that I actually said you wouldn't want to put that Volkswagen up against that Falcon there, would you? I guess they believed me and they let us go. But of course, back then, this was, in the late 60s, very early 70s. And of course, the racial tensions and all of that stuff was still, pretty prominent. So, again, all of that, those things that had a profound effect on me. And when I got it, you want
No,
to ask
what
me?
I was finna say, so at an early age, what age you say that was for you when you had a car, so you was a teen
Yeah,
by
I
then.
was about 15 or 16 years old.
Okay, so now as a teen, you've had this incident early on with law enforcement, with government, as you say. So did that affect you as an adult with your relationship with the government or how you feel about them?
Yeah, it had an effect on me. In fact, throughout my life, it had that, the same type of profound effect because other things have, occurred in between then and now. As far
Gotcha.
as, and I'll kind of explain a little bit of that.
So we gonna get into the how we got to here.
Okay.
Like I said, I've seen you many times before at the board meetings, voicing your opinion about the community, about many different things. How long have you been going to board meetings, or do you remember, or what kind of got you involved in that government part? Like I said, if you already have a bad taste in your mouth for government, but now you want to go help fix things in the community, did something happen to make you say, you know what, I need to help my community, I need to speak out for the community? Like, did something happen, or did you just decide one day?
Well, this is what actually happened. Even in high school, I was suspended on a regular basis for standing firm in what I believe in when it came to racial equality. And when they couldn't, take the fact that I was speaking out against what I considered racial injustice, I would be suspended from school, on numerous occasions. However, I was still able, if I had wanted to, graduated a year early because I
Mm,
didn't allow that to affect, my education. But I stayed back to graduate with my class. However, to move forward, I had joined the military, joined the Navy during the Vietnam War. And when I left, I made a promise to my mother. I made a promise to myself. And I even had the audacity to make a promise to God that I would never come back to Brookhaven or Mississippi, for that matter, to live. But you never say never, because you never know what the Lord have in store. So that brings me back to this point and how I got back to Brookhaven, because, I traveled, being in the Navy, I've been around the world, halfway around the world a couple of times and back. And the Lord has blessed me to visit over 20 countries, live in about 12 different states, met thousands and thousands of people, And but there was always something, inside of me that always said, you need to go back to Brookhaven. But, I had already made up in my mind, I had never gone back here. So move forward, 9/11. My wife and I, we were living in Dallas, had an outstanding job, good benefits. I only worked 6 months out of the year. Big house in the suburbs, all of that. And 9/11, I decided that I was going to turn in my resignation and come back to Brookhaven. Didn't know what it was that God had in store
wow.
for me. You know what I mean?
And that had to be around 2001, because I remember I was going to college
Right,
now.
right,
So it was around
exactly.
'01. Okay.
Right,
So
exactly.
2001, you decide you're going to come back to Brookhaven. Did you come in '01, or you came the next year, or how soon was that?
No, well, when 9/11 happened, because that was the day, in fact, that was the day I was going to turn in my resignation.
Oh, wow.
And I had already been praying that, God, if this ain't what you want me to do, please send me a sign to let me know
Mm-hmm.
that this ain't what you want me to do. Because, like I said, good benefits, good pay, good everything. Anything a black man, in my position would want. You know what I
Right.
mean? So on 9/11, like I said, I held off on my resignation because I thought it was a sign from God that I wasn't supposed to come back to Brookhaven.
I would.
But 2 months later, I was in Brookhaven. Not knowing what it was that I was supposed to do. My mom had a little small business that I eventually took over and started running. But I didn't know what my goals or what my purpose was in Brookhaven until God showed me. One day I was sitting in my business right across the street from Alexander School and across the street from the Carver Heights projects. I was sitting there and I saw a young man walking past, and I wanted to know why he wasn't at school. When I went out and confronted him and asked him, why you're not at school, he told me that he had been suspended. And I asked him why. He said because he had been chewing gum in school and they suspended him for 3 days. I said, you mean to tell me that they suspended you for chewing gum? He said, yeah. I said, your mom know that they suspended you for chewing gum? He said, yeah. So I asked him for her phone number right then, and I called her and asked her, did she know that her son was suspended for chewing gum? And she said, yes. And I said, you going to allow them to suspend your child for chewing gum when they could have gave him in-school suspension or had him outside picking up paper or doing something other than being out of school? She said, well, she didn't know what she could do. So that what really inspired me that I need to, try to rectify this situation where black men are being treated the way that they are, being put out of school or being suspended from school for little or nothing. So that's really where it actually, began, where God really showed me what he wanted me to do, was to try to change the way black people in general are treated.
So the first issue that I ever heard you speak about was the overpass. Emergency vehicles being able to go back and forth through town unimpeded if we have an emergency. Was that something you experienced or was that something that you noticed?
That's something that I had noticed, and it's something that I actually experienced because I took care of my dad for about 10 years. And my dad had an episode where the ambulance couldn't get here because the train was blocking the path. And of course, when they finally did get here 30 minutes later, I was mad at a billy goat in a pepper patch. I was hot.
What?
A billy goat in a pepper patch. I was hot. So, but the guy that the ambulance attendant could see in my face that how highly upset I was, the fact that I thought it was just because we were black, the reason that they took so long. But as soon as he exited the vehicle, he explained that they was late because the train was coming through town. And I understood. No problem. Okay. So that was just recent. That was, my dad died 2 years ago, so he was 98 years old.
So what's the reason that you've gotten? So you said it's about 2-3 years ago that you started asking about the overpass?
Oh no! I had been asking for the underpass for probably back in 2006, 2007.
So what's the variation of reasons? So that'll be a couple changes in the guard when it comes to leadership. What's been the reasons why they say they haven't given you any answer or why they won't build it?
Well, there was no answer and no justification at all, other than the fact that this is the east side of town. And
But we both did it at the same time because I mean,
Wait,
to
so-
be honest,
Go ahead, Zane.
to be honest, it is very what's the word? Me being in the medical field, it is very crucial times when life is at stake. When you a heart attack or whatever, and you can't go from one side of the town to go from the east side to go to the hospital because there's no clinics or whatsoever on that side. So you're putting people's lives at risk. I don't understand. I guess now I don't understand why is it such a why not? I guess that's the question.
Yeah, I guess that was my question. Did you ever get a reason of the why not?
Well, money. Money was always the escape. You know, no money. We don't have no money for that, or we can't get the money for that. But just recently, when President Biden, you know, did the infrastructure deal,
Yeah.
there was billions of dollars available that they didn't even apply for. And I came back down and even asked them to do that, and they didn't. In fact, they didn't even bring it to the table to discuss. So that just shows you just how important it was to them that we had, you know, equal rights as far as medical attention, as well as police response.
Yeah, because I didn't think about ambulance or the officers can't get to the other side of town.
Well,
That
no.
is true.
If you really think about it, the police is already on that side.
No. The police station is on the other side of the tracks.
Yeah, police station is out on 51.
You're
It's
right.
out on 51.
You're right.
So that'll bring us when we talk about money.
Mhm.
So let's address the duck in the room, if we shall say, instead of the elephant.
Right.
How did you land on it? Like you said before, we've all talked about it, but what's your opinion or what's your thoughts on it? Or how did you get to a point? How did you even come up with the scenario? Let's start there. What made you think to use that analogy to go in there with?
But it's a
Talking
good
about the duck.
Yes, sir.
Well, I've always been, you know, rambunctious young guy, inquisitive when I was younger, and I always used comedy as, you know, my scapegoat.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was actually our class comedian, but people like I done seen on Facebook called me a clown, but I wasn't a clown because I got my lesson. You see what I mean?
Got you.
I had people laughing. They might have been flunking, but I was getting my lesson. But I was actually enjoying myself because I enjoy comedy. In fact, I've auditioned for several different comedy jams in the last 20 years also. So, but that was just a little tidbit of trivia right there.
You know what? When I heard it, I told Jarvis and him, I was like, y'all remember the Aflac commercial? Aflac needs to have you on their commercial because that's the first thing I thought of. And if you don't know who Aflac is, y'all need to look it up. But Aflac, when I heard that, I said, why he sound like the Aflac duck? That's what the duck sound like.
And so you decided to use the duck analogy, and
because the thing just didn't look right. It didn't look right, and it wasn't right. And the only way, or the only metaphor that I felt that I could use that people can relate to was, if it looked like a duck, it sounded like a duck, and it quacked like a duck, it's a duck. So all of these things that happened in terms of the funeral home had all of the, you know, earmarkings of a duck.
I was gonna say duck quality.
Right. There's something wasn't right. We done bought a lame duck. We might have bought a lame duck.
Right.
So,
exactly.
So they approved it on the 31st. I may be wrong. I'm trying to make sure I'm getting it right, but I think it was the 31st of December. They took a vote. They decided they was going to buy the funeral home instead of exploring other options. Maybe you there at the meetings. I missed a lot of meetings. I try to watch them on YouTube. But did anybody ever give a decision, like a reason why they picked this funeral home over any other property in Brookhaven?
No, none. And as of today, they still had not.
And it may be we got some people on. If y'all, I don't know, how does anybody in the comments feel about either or? We've done this before. Do y'all think it was a good move? Do y'all not think it was a good move? The city is receiving some funds from moving out of the city hall that we are currently in. I want to say it's about $2 million or so for moving out of the city hall. Then I think it was another bond for an additional $800,000 or so for that. So in essence, what Mr. Roy here was saying when he was up talking was that there was a bunch of other things we could have done with that money.
Exactly.
We could have built from scratch, you know, and done other stuff with that money. I don't know how much it takes to build a building, but I'm sure we could get something for $1 million. You know,
exactly. That was my sentiment sentiments exactly.
And what were some of those things that you named? Because I can't think of all of them right off the top of my head, but I'm sure you probably already know them right off.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the overpass or underpass over the railroad track downtown, in the event that there was an emergency on this side of the railroad track, emergency vehicles, police, ambulance, fire trucks could get we would have access to all of that, all of that care.
The essential stuff. The essential
Right,
stuff. That's
right. Things
essential.
that the city is supposed to provide.
Correct.
And we were being denied it because if a train is coming by, we were being denied, and people could die, people could lose their home or whatever, because the city refused or ignored the fact that this was something that needed to be taken care of long time ago.
Right. And not only that, when you talk about that, you know, how hard is it to build another station, or how hard is it to have a hub station
Like a
on that
substation for the law enforcement.
right, of the law enforcement and an extra fire truck on that side? I mean, you can have two sides. What if you have multiple? I don't know how many fire trucks there
Fires.
are. Yeah, what if you have multiple fires going on at one time? So those are things that, you know, do the state, you know, do the city look at those? I know, I mean, I'm in a big city, but just about every community has a fire station. And again, I'm in a huge city, but just around the corner, there's a fire station. So I wonder, have they ever thought about making substations? And that's something that the citizens can address. Give us a substation on the east side. Give us a medical facility, a hub facility, or off-campus medical hospital. So
Well, this is the thing about it. You shouldn't have to say give us anything because it's the citizens' money.
you shouldn't.
The people that's there should build it because they are told to build it. And I don't really care how they feel about it, but it's your job to do what the citizens tell you to do. And
That's
if
true.
people are saying there's nothing on the east side of town, build something. It's really that simple. You're not
Exactly.
building it with your money. It ain't your money. It's not coming out of your pocket. Just do what the people ask you to do. It's not a complicated situation.
Well,
Exactly.
you know, Jarvis, you know what's so ironic? What's so ironic is the fact that, you know, our Black community, you know, we pay more in taxes than, you know, our counterparts across the railroad track, simply because we have no other means of spending our money other than going across the railroad track.
That's true.
They could go to Memphis, they can go to New Orleans, they can go to Natchez, they can go down to Macomb and shop and spend on Jackson, spend all of their money. But the average folks in our community, where they have to go? They have to go across the railroad track. So we're contributing more to the tax base than anyone else, but we don't get anything in return.
That's true.
And to me, that's totally unacceptable.
That's backwards. That's backwards.
Yeah.
And I understand what you're saying, that black dollars leaving the community so fast that it doesn't even
Exactly.
circulate.
And what make it even more ironic is the fact that when we do try to spend our money in our community, we spend it with people that don't even look like us.
You're correct.
And
You're
they
correct.
won't give you nothing back.
And they don't even live in the community. They live, I got one cross street, they live in Madison somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
See
saying? So
that's what I'm saying. And that's the point that I've been trying to get across to our Black communities, is that we have to use our resources, which is our vote and our dollars. If we stop spending our money on the boulevard and we started voting, things will change.
Oh, most definitely.
You know what I mean? That's our power. That's our
think,
collateral right there.
I think a lot of times, and I hate to say these, and I'm gonna say it publicly, it don't really matter. It seems like it's so hard for us to say no. How hard is it to say no to a fish plate or a taco, or just go somewhere else? Go to Mama Ruby's if you need to. Go to Chisholm's if you need to. Whatever. But if we gonna stay off the boulevard, we're gonna stay. And it's hard to do, I understand. But like you said, a lot of people don't fear anything but death and loss of money. Those two things really get people in line really quick.
Yeah. Well, you know, even if you only just wanted to make a point, and you just said, okay, for a week, we ain't gonna go on the boulevard for a week, they gonna wonder what happened.
Yep.
And when you say, oh, that's because we ain't getting none of our money back, they would probably start, you know, coming to the board meetings and trying to get something over here, help us obtain some of the things that we've been requesting for over 25 and 30 years. Practically all my life, really.
So let me ask you this. if it's any of those things that you spoke about at the board meeting that you could get, what would be the number one priority on your list?
Well, it would actually be two.
Mm.
Okay.
The overpass or underpass over the railroad track, and secondly, the community education resource center.
That's
That's gravely important to me because now they're taking history out of the schools. And it's
Mhm.
almost virtually impossible for our children to understand what the struggle has been about that I just described, all of the racial hatred and racial discrimination that we have had to endure, that my generation has had to endure, and still enduring it even today because we still don't have anything.
That's
So,
true.
so even in the comments, we got a few people on here now. What would be the number one thing you guys would change locally? What do you guys think we need locally? Because this just ain't about us, our opinions or whatever. Everybody got an opinion. You
Right.
may want your street fixed. You may want some of everything, but what is something that you guys would change in Brookhaven immediately? Because you may have some people on here tonight that do have a voice downtown that can change some things. And they may need to hear it because usually what happens is they'll say, even if we're talking about the elected appointed police chief thing, they'll say we got to talk to the constituents. But who knows if anybody talked to the constituents? Because, you know, I don't know. Like, I know how my relationship is with the alderman that I have, but I don't know how everybody else's is. You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So um do people come out and talk to y'all? Is that what y'all want y'all aldermen to start doing when we have an issue? Um,
I've,
okay.
I've, I've never seen my alderman maybe once, and he was just riding by in my neighborhood. Now, what need to change in our neighborhood is community unity.
Mm.
We
Yeah.
need to come together, like I said, and put our resources together. And like I said, our resources is more powerful than an atomic bomb, if you be honest with you, when it comes to dollars and cents. Because the only thing that they actually want is our dollars and our votes. And we can see we ain't getting anything in return. So if we ain't getting nothing in return, then we need to, look at other options. So we got to have community unity, and everybody got to be on the same page, or the majority have to be on one accord in order for things to change.
And
Of
So
course, I know change don't come fast, and it definitely
yeah.
don't come easy. But change is self-control.
right.
You
And
have to change yourself.
and that's a good thing, because like you said, the community, you need the unity to have it. And so once you get everybody on board, it is easier to make change because you have more than one person trying to make that change. So that is a good thing to have, is that community niche. Each ward should have that somehow, some way. Reach out to your community and see what's going on, because how I know if you don't, how I know you need something, Mr. Roy, if I don't talk to you? How do I know that Miss Smith down the street needs something done in her house? She may need a handicap ramp or whatever the case, and I can help with that. If I don't talk to them, how would I know what they need? And how am I connecting? How am I expecting people to connect with me if I don't even reach out to them? So I get you.
What would that education center in your mind look like? Are we talking just a building with books? Are we talking like activity center? Um, we that gets talks about a lot. Community center, swimming pool, activity center. I don't know if that's gonna be one and the same thing, but what does that kind of look like? I mean, to the community, Mr. Trey Henderson just said something. He said he agreed with you. A community education center, but what does that look like? Are we teaching trades there? Are we like,
Uh,
what would you
uh,
guys visualize with it?
Okay, well, every opportunity that I got to come to the board meeting and request at the Educational Empowerment Resource Center, I always explain that it would be used to educate our children, give them the resources they need to become better students in school, because better students in school makes better adults. Better adults make
That's
better
true.
parents, and better parents, of course, make better families. And a good family, it makes a better community.
Mhm.
And overall society benefits. Now, the Educational Empowerment Resource Center would incorporate a Black History Library. And it would teach the children, no matter how they learn, whether they learn by video, whether they learn by listening, reading, or whatever, we will have those resources available for them to know or to learn their history. Because like I said, it's hard for them to understand what the struggle has actually been about if they don't know the history. Because like I said, if you don't know your history, history will repeat itself. And you can
we've
see
talked
right
about,
now, we're
I'm sorry.
regressing rather than progressing.
Yeah.
As far as
Yep, we
history.
talked about that last week, just progression. We've talked about how sometimes when you look at things from the civil rights movement and you realize it was in the 70s, they show them in black and white. It was color TV then, but they show it in black and white, and your mind is tricked into thinking it was a very long time ago. And you realize it's old as our parents. Well, my parents at least. You know, if you in your 60s or 70s, you were alive then and you
Right.
grew up in the civil rights era. So it's very, very important to understand it's not a long jump. And this ain't to be a bad thing, but I saw something where they posted all these pictures of all this old stuff in Brookhaven and celebrating the heritage of Brookhaven. And it wasn't one fly in that milk. It was a lot of white. And it wasn't bad, but you have to understand at the time that those photos were posted, like you said, black people wasn't welcome in a lot of those businesses. So it can look a little funny. You get what I'm saying? It can look a little funny, but we have to celebrate the stuff that we want to celebrate by participating in the NAACP stuff, the parades, the Juneteenth celebrations, and all that type of stuff to make sure we celebrate our own history or even our own heroes that we got. Hell, Ms. Roy, we might have to name the center after you once it get put up because we're going to have to make it happen. The
So
Roy
Well, look,
Smith Center.
listen, I ain't looking for no accolades or anything like that. I'm just trying to do God's will. And like I said, I didn't know what my purpose was when I got back here. But once he showed me what it was, I accepted it. And I've tried to, do the best I can in trying to bring our community together, like I said, to bring about change.
I
I know it don't come fast and it definitely don't come easy, but I've been working at this for the last 25 years. Sometimes I want to throw up my hand and I sit back and then it started,
came
You
through
had a
it.
breakthrough the other night.
say, you got to get up. You got to get up. And that's why I came on down to the board meeting the other night, because I felt that the money that they misappropriated to buy over 100-year-old building was misappropriated when there were things in our community that we could definitely use some of that money to make our lives better.
I like what
Pastor,
Pastor Sterling said. He said, could the Bicentennial Building be extended to include a community center? I mean, I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, doesn't it have a playground in the back or something like that? I can't remember, but I know it's small. But is it something that could work to be extended, maybe up, build up and out? What
was that?
the
what?
Bicentennial
the Bicentennial Building.
Oh, okay. Well, the thing is that the city has plenty of property available in our community where they can build a center. It's just a matter now of putting it on the table, discussing it, and coming up with a plan. That's it. As simple as that. That hadn't happened in 25 years. But I take that back. It did happen once because it was suggested, say, okay, let's put them a trailer over there. I say, don't bring no trailer over here. Not when we deserve more than a single wide trailer for a community center. We deserve better.
Kenyatta, I think they may have VOTEC at the high school.
I don't know. They have some type of VOTEC, but it's not like it used to be. I know, and if I'm reading her question right, like the bigger cities, you can do your last 3 years of high school at a college. They can go to Colin or whatever and get a trade, and they go out coming out of high school with an associate's. So those are programs that could be looked at because you're coming out with a title, with an associate to further you into college. So those are things that can be looked at. And this, and it's not coming out for that program, and it doesn't come out of the city. It comes from the state, and I'm pretty sure the state has money for that type of program for Brookhaven. If you just got to look into those things.
Yeah, it's always debate about the grant writers with Brookhaven. I never understand it. I don't know if we do got a grant writer, we don't got a grant writer. I don't know if it's a phantom grant writer. I'm not sure, but they got to get that when this election cycle passes here. That's something they got to get under control. This grant writing things. They got all type of programs and stuff where you can do AI grant writing, and it's a million things they could do. The Burden
And
Brothers. I don't know what the Burden Brothers is. I haven't seen it. Maybe there's something that somebody else. Bearden Brothers. I'm sorry.
Is it a movie?
I'm not sure. Trey says he's heard of it. Yes, Kenyatta. Dual enrollment.
Enrollment.
Job
Oh,
Corps offers. Yep, Colin and Job Corps offers co-enrollment classes. One of the recruiters from Job Corps is from Brookhaven. We had on the show before. These kids can go. Maybe Brookhaven can get a co-enrollment program like Crystal Spring has. I participated in that when I was in school. I think you leave with a couple $1,000s when you graduate, and you can get a trade or a certificate in a thing. I did business administration, so I had a business administration certificate by the time I left high school. So I have a GED and I have a high school diploma because I was co-enrolled in Job Corps and in high school. So it's a lot of programs that we can do. Oh, it was two brothers. It was two brothers that were lynched in Brookhaven in 1924.
I'm gonna
Okay.
have to look that
See,
up.
yeah, see, it's a lot of history here in Brookhaven that we do not know. You know what I'm
They
saying?
were
We do
executed
not
up
know.
in the town. Wow.
We do not
well,
know.
now, I don't know, if this is true or not, but I was told, and this could just be a rumor, and I don't want to start spreading rumors, but when they was doing construction downtown, right there across from where Fox Pizza is,
Mhm.
they was digging ground and they hit a big bunker or something in the ground.
Mm.
And when they actually opened it up, it was a tunnel. That was tunnel. My dad, like I said, my dad just died a couple of years ago, and he used to tell me that he used to work at a feed store right here in Brookhaven, right there where Jay Allen's Furniture is now, on the
Yes,
corner
sir.
down from the post office. That used to be a feed store,
Mm-hmm.
and he used to go in there. He used to have to clean up, and he said sometimes he thought it was ghosts in there because he would hear chain rattling and all of that kind of stuff. But actually, there was tunnels all under Brookhaven. That's what I heard. Now I don't know. And they say that there were folks still down there.
Okay, Pastor Sterling say he's heard the same thing.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you
So
never know.
so
Yeah, with the with the way
that's
these
something.
old towns is, man, you never know.
Yeah. So now when my dad told me that he thought he was hearing ghosts, and they come back and I find that out, I said he was actually hearing them chains and the doors slamming down in those tunnels underneath the city.
So we finna start wrapping up here. Give us
Okay.
what you feel about this whole the city hall. The main thing you spoke about the other night. You say whatever you need to say. Look, this probably gonna be about 10 minutes or whatever you need. But we uninterrupted, Mr. Roy. We gonna cut you loose. I'm gonna mute my mic and I'm gonna shut my mouth. And we gonna let you talk about whatever you need to talk about.
You
Because that's
go
what we
for it.
came for.
It is
Go
your
for
truth. Yep, it's your truth. Go for it.
Well, like I said, the first thing we need to do is we got to pool our resources. We got to get the community united. The people who have allowed our community to be in the condition that it's in, it's time that they move on. We need new leadership. We need some people that's going to stand for right instead of going along to get along. We need people that have the voice, that's not afraid, because we know that fear is a powerful weapon, and people use fear to keep a lot of times Black folks in check. But It's time now that we no longer allow fear and insecurity to control our future. We can't, allow fear and insecurity to control our children's future. We can't allow fear and insecurity to control our children and our unborn generation's future. We got to, stand firm in our convictions and what we believe in, and that's right. And it's not about, black and white. This is about right and wrong. And I've always stood firm and for what I believe in, even during my military career. My last 18 months on active duty, I went through 3 special court-martial simply because I wouldn't sit down and shut up. I held my superiors accountable. No white man ever want to be held accountable. We already know that from our previous president. Don't want to be held accountable. But God has put me in a position where I'm not afraid to hold people accountable, because that's what I, built my reputation on in the military, on leadership. The only thing, because how can you lead someone into a war if you ain't got nobody to follow you? So you got to be, fair, and you got to be firm. And that's all I'm asking our government to do, is to just be fair. You see what we need. You know what we need. I've told you thousands of times what it is that we need. And it's gone ignored. The people that we have, that's sitting on our board currently, we thought we were in a, pretty decent position, by having the majority. But if you think about it, we're still the minority, because they are not unified. They're not unified in the sense that, they know what we need, but they're not pushing the issue. Like they gave up all their collateral political capital when they went down and signed this proposal to buy this old funeral home for $3.25 million. The Alderman of Ward 3, he had political capital in trying to get the apartment complex over there that burned down, get it cleaned up off the front of the railroad track. But he didn't use that. He ran down to the to wherever they signed the contract, rather than use, I'm not gonna move until you move. But he moved, which that's why I say they sold us out. He sold us out. I talked to the Alderman of Ward 1, and he said that he understood where I was coming from, and he would talk to the others to try to convince them that this wasn't in the best interest of our community. But he had some political capital as well, because he told me after he had changed the subject that he had brought a proposal up for the community center, and the mayor was slow walking it. I said, okay, well, if he's slow walking it, I see you sprinted down to wherever he was to sign this $3.25 million contract. They gave up their political capital when they had, something to bargain with, and they gave it up. Now they don't have nothing, just like we don't. See, so it's time now for new leadership, and I'm gonna do everything that I can and everything within, my power to ensure that Brookhaven has some changes, tangible changes that I can see before I leave this world. And that's the only thing that I've ever wanted, to leave the world in a better place than where I found it. And I just told you, when I grew up, how things were back in the civil rights era, Jim Crow era. Even in our own neighborhood at the Startown and the Penguin right there on 84, they had a black and white window there. In our own neighborhood, we had to go to a black window. We couldn't go to the side where it said white only in our own neighborhood. But again, I just want to see a change for the better. And right now, with the leadership that we got, instead of going forward, we're going backwards. And I want to do whatever I can, or whatever God power that God gives me to bring about change, that's what I want to do.
Man, we appreciate you so much for coming on here.
And
And
let me say, Jarvis, let me say one last thing, if you
go
don't mind.
ahead, man, go
Now,
ahead.
now I know a lot of people, might consider me to be, controversial,
Mhm.
but I always thought that was a bad thing until one of my mentors told me that, look, he said, being controversial, it ain't bad. Actually, it's good. And I said, well, explain that. And the way he explained it made perfect sense. He told me that being controversial, what it does, it create, debate amongst folks.
Yeah.
He said, being controversial, what it does is it creates and stimulates thought amongst folks. People, I might say something just like the duck thing. Like you said, it resonated. He said it makes people aware of a lot of things that they've been knowing all their life, and that is that had nothing changed. That racism is still alive. And it's still alive right here in Brookhaven, Mississippi today. Right here in Mississippi today. In the United States today. So the only way things are going to change is we make them change. And I'm on board, and I hope that the people in Brookhaven, come out of their shells and join and lock arms together, and let's bring about some changes, not only for ourselves, but for the generations, the next generation, or the next two generations, to be honest. Because if we don't have a positive effect on the next two generations, hey, they're doomed.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And I
look, this may
I
go ahead.
appreciate the opportunity that y'all gave me to express my opinion and to make people aware that I'm not a troublemaker. I'm a decent, honest, God-fearing
Veteran.
man
God
Yeah,
fearing.
you're a
God
veteran.
that
You don't
that not only wants the best for myself and my family, but I want the best for everybody in our struggling community. And that's just the bottom line.
And so look, if y'all get a chance, this may be our request. They can go in the comments, leave Mr. Roy a duck emoji or a quack quack so we can see it on the screen. If somebody come along and watch this after the fact, which they usually do, they'll see all that in the comment. Just the love, man, because we did it, we had a good laugh with it, but a lot of people acted like it was a bad thing.
Yeah,
And this man trying to save y'all money. He looking out for the money of the people where you pay taxes.
not
right.
only
But
say
y'all acting like it's, you know what I'm
right,
saying? Y'all acting like it's a comical thing and it was funny. But the other thing is, man, everybody needs to watch this money because this is where your money is going. You know what I'm saying? If you're not a good steward over your money, you're gonna be a fool. You understand me? Like y'all money gonna be gone and y'all be complaining about the water bill and all this now, and you don't know what's going on. You
right,
get what I'm saying? You
right.
looking silly.
And it's not just the money, the children are our future. You remember that song, teach them well and let them lead the way. If you ain't got no children to teach, how they gonna lead? So you're setting a great foundation or resetting the foundation, realigning. The Bible talks about realignment. So we are realigning the things that have been corrected. So I am so I'm like Jen today. I'm getting chills. So I am so gracious and so thankful, Mr. Roy, for you coming on tonight and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and your heart with the people on tonight, because it was much needed. Just your passion alone. Like you said, it was comical, but you can feel the passion through every word that you said. So I appreciate you. And listen, if you ever run for something, you got my vote, and I don't even live in Brookhaven.
Yeah,
Well,
man. And we want everybody to be happy and proud, man. They showing love in the comments. I really appreciate y'all for that. Um, so man, I enjoyed tonight. If you ever get an issue you want to get off, you can more than welcome to come on back and do it again. Um, we usually come
Anytime.
on Tuesdays, but man, we're opening this a platform up for anybody if it's an emergency or we feel like it's a pressing issue that y'all want to talk about. like we tell y'all all the time, just DM us on the page. You can see me in Walmart, wherever y'all see me at if y'all got to tell me. But we would prefer if y'all DM us so we can catch it and know what we talking about. I won't walk off and forget, or Xandra, or anybody forget. But I mean, next Tuesday we'll be back. Next Tuesday is Alderman Andre Spiller,
Right.
and he's a regular on the show. I'm sure he gonna have a lot to say. And that's it, man. So anybody wants to be
Come
on the
with your questions. Come with your questions.
Yeah,
Come with
make
your
sure y'all come with questions, man. If y'all come on the next week, we trying to get as many people that's running for these offices to come on, because just like Mr. Roy, we were talking, a lot of times we ask, I want to know why you said no or why you said yes. I would
Mhm.
love to know why it's a no or why it's a yes. Because I still don't know to this day why the funeral home was a good idea. And maybe that's a question that we gotta ask. Like, is it something special at the funeral home that we didn't know about? Is it
Jarvis, I can answer that for you.
Go ahead.
Quack quack.
On that note, good night, everyone. Thank you so much, and we'll see you.
Don't
Oh,
hang
yeah,
up,
that's a good
Mr.
note
Roy.
to end right there.
Don't hang up, Mr. Roy. We gonna thank you, man. See y'all later.
All right.
Bro.
Okay, man. I appreciate